Okay, guys, today we're going to do one of the most important lessons of Algebra 2. It's one that endures throughout all algebra classes moving forward. You'll use it in calculus. It's really used extensively in math moving forward, okay? So we're going to start out just by reviewing factoring, okay? And eventually we'll get into factoring trinomials, both when a equals 1 and when it's greater than 1, okay? But we're going to start out just reviewing the factoring we've done, which is greatest common factor, okay? Remember, don't forget that a common factor, if it's a lead coefficient, if it's negative, that counts as a common factor that we need to factor out, okay? All right, so I'm going to start with example 1. And I know that not only do I have 3 and 12, and both 3 and 12 divide by 3, but it's a negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to factor out that negative 3, and then I'm going to divide both these by that common factor. I get negative 3 times x, and then 12 divided by negative 3 is minus 4, and I'm done. Moving on to number 2. Okay. Here, when I look at the numbers, and I have 10 and 17, my coefficients, 10, the factors of 10 are 1 and 10, obviously, and then 2 and 5. Negative 17, I can't divide by 1, 10, 2, 5. Really, I can't divide by anything because it's a prime number, okay? So I then look at the variables, x squared and x. Oh, there's an x in both those. So I'm just going to factor out the x. So I put that out front. 10x squared divided by x is 10x. And negative 17x divided by x is minus 17. Oh, I forgot my x there. 10x minus 17. And I'm done with number 2. Moving on to number 3. 15x squared minus 24x. Okay, 15x squared. So let's look at the coefficient first, 15. I can divide that by 1. 15 are set of factors. 3 and 5 are my other set of factors. I look over at negative 24. Can't divide that by 15. How about 3 or 5? I can divide negative 24, divide by 3, okay? So 3 is going to be my common coefficient factor, and then x squared and x, there's an x there, so I'm also going to include that as my greatest common factor. Divide both by 3x. 15x squared divided by 3x. 15 divided by 3 is x. X squared divided by x is x. And then negative 24x divided by 3x. Negative 24 divided by 3 is minus 8. Okay. Moving on to the next section. Section 2 here is factoring by grouping. Okay. We do this when we have 4 terms. Okay, so we're looking for 4 terms. And we have a GCF in each group of 2. Okay? So let's see here. When we look at number 4, and I'm going to group these, okay? I'm going to make this first group blue here. Then I'm going to make my second group green. Okay, notice how I included this sign there just to remind me of whether that was positive or negative in that third term. Okay, I'm going to start with the blue group first. 4x squared and 3x. Those both have a common factor of x. Divide x by both of them. And I end up with 4x plus 3. Okay, now let's go and deal with the green one. Common between 28x and 21. I know I can divide 28 and 21, both of those by 7. So I'm going to put plus 7. So that's my greatest common factor between the two of them. 28 divided by 7 is 4x. And 21 divided by 7 is 3. Okay. You'll notice now we have a common factor here, 4x plus 3. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and write that as one of my factors. 4x plus 3. And then I'm left with two others, x and plus 7. If I factor out that 4x plus 3 from both of those, I'm left with a second term of x plus 7. Okay, and I'm done. I factored it. All right, let's move on to example 5. We'll do the same thing. First group, second group. Okay, common between 10x squared and 12x would be 2x. Oop, wrong color here. So divide by 2x from both of them. 10x squared divided by 2x is 5x. 12x divided by 2x is plus 6. Okay. Then negative 35x and negative 42. Common between those is negative 7. So minus 7. Divide both those by negative 7. And we get 5x plus 6. When we're grouping, we should always have this common factor. Okay? If we don't have a common factor like that, it's not possible to factor by grouping, or we made a mistake somewhere. So typically in this class, if we set you up for grouping and we tell you to do grouping, or even when you're doing split the middle, which is what we're going to be doing later on today, if you're not seeing that common factor, you probably made a mistake. Okay, so we took that 2x and that negative 7, those lead coefficients or those and common factors, and wrote them as their own factor there. Okay, last step. And I guess we have two more grouping. No, last grouping one. Okay. We have 5y squared, negative 5y, negative 7y, and plus 7. So common between the first group in blue is 5y. Divide them both by 5y. 5y squared divided by 5y. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And y squared divided by y is y. So that's how we write 1y, right? We just write y. And then negative 5y divided by 5y is just 1. Okay, and then we'll do the red here. Common between negative 7y and plus 7. Just like up above, when we have a negative out front, we want to make sure our common factor is negative. Okay, negative 7y divided by negative 7 is y. 7 divided by negative 7 is minus 1. We have our y minus 1s here as our common factor that we factor out. Y minus 1. And then we're left with our 5y minus 7 as our second factor. Okay. Let's move on down below to examples when we're going to start doing some basic factoring with trinomials of a equals 1, okay? Trinomials, remember, just means that we have one term, or excuse me, three terms. Try means 3. Okay. I was thinking 1 because we have A equals 1 on these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Well, let's talk about what we're looking for real quick. Okay, so when we're factoring, all we're looking for, to summarize, is kind of the two groups, two factors that multiply to equal the trinomial we started with, okay? And when we do that, what we look for, so we're going to have an AX plus a number, and then we'll have X plus another number. Okay, we'll end up with two factors. And when we're doing this, we're looking for the two numbers initially that multiply to equal A times C, and also sum, so we're talking addition, to equal B. Okay, so we're multiplying, there's my L in there, multiply to equal A times C, sum to equal B. All right, so let's look at what I mean by that. Okay, number one, you'll notice we don't have a lead coefficient, but my A is 1. Okay, we have 1x squared. This first step you're going to learn is not necessary when we have an A equals 1. Okay, because when we multiply A, we have our B, we have our C. When you multiply A of 1 times 15, you end up with 15, which is our C. Okay? So what we're looking for, though, is two numbers that multiply to be 15 that sum 8. Okay, well, 15, we know it can multiply 15 times 1. But when we add that up, that equals 16. Can also multiply 3 and 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay, that's the one we're looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a process called split the middle. Okay, where we drop down our first term, x squared, but then we take that 8x and we split it into two different terms, 5x and 3x. Okay, because 5x plus 3x equals 8x, so we're allowed to do that. We're just rewriting it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring down the other plus sign. It was a positive 5x. And I'm going to bring down my 15. Okay, so we just split the middle, and now we're going to do what we did above. We're just going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to group this first group, and then my second group. Okay, common between x squared and 5x is x, so I divide x by both those, and I get x plus 5. And then common between 3x and 15 is plus 3. Divide by 3 from both of them, and I get x plus 5. Okay, now I can write my factors. I have my x plus 5, and x plus 5. And then I also have my x plus 3. And those are my two factors. Okay. You'll notice here that we ended up right back with 5 and 3. 5 here and 3 here. okay? The split the middle process is not really necessary when our A equals 1, okay? The next one, in fact, I'm going to do without going through the split the middle process. We do use split the middle on these a lot with A equals 1, just to show you the process, because like the examples we're going to do below, when you start adding coefficients in front of the x squared and A becomes things greater than 1, it's good to have that foundation of how to split the middle when A was 1, okay? But on this next one, I'm going to show you that how we really don't even need to do that split the middle process, okay? Because A times C is negative 40, so we can just find the factors of negative 40, and we're looking for the factors that sum 6, okay? Sometimes, especially when the number gets bigger, like negative 40, we can't rattle off all the factors right away. It's good to do division, and we can even do that in our calculator, okay? Negative 40 divided by negative 1 is 40, okay? You'll notice here, because my B is positive, and I'm looking for the numbers that sum that B, that plus 6, I'm making my larger number positive and my smaller number negative, because I know they want to sum positive, okay? All right, so negative 40, I'm going to divide that by negative 2, and I get 20. 20 and negative 2 is 18. I'm looking for 6. I can't divide by negative 3. I can divide by negative 4, and I get 10. Okay, those sum 6. I'm good, okay? I also could have divided by negative 5 and gotten 8 just to complete my factors. But these are the two numbers that sum 6. So that's what I want, okay? Since A equals 1, that's just my 1x squared, I can go ahead and go straight into my factors. X, that's a positive 10. And then x minus 4. And I'm done, okay? Splitting the middle, not necessary when A equals 1, okay? All right, number 9. This is a special case. You should recognize that this is not 1 that's out front. That is negative 1, okay? When we have a negative 1, and when we're factoring anything, we always want to make sure we're factoring the greatest common factor first, okay? That foundation we learned earlier in the unit, we carry through, okay? Can we factor negative 1 out of every number? Of course we can. So it is a common factor, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and divide each of these by negative 1. And I get x squared. I put my negative 1 out front. X squared minus 5x minus 6. Okay? Now, I want to be able to factor what's inside the parentheses. Okay? A times negative 6 is negative 6, not 16. Negative 6. And I want the two numbers that multiply to be negative 6 that add up to be negative 5. Okay, divide by 1, I get negative 6. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Okay, that's it. Now, a lot of people want to make it negative 2 and negative 3 because those also sum negative 5, and they add up to be, they sum negative 5, they add up to be negative 5. But they multiply to be positive 6, okay? So don't be that person that does that. Make sure you get that correct factors, negative 6 and 1, okay? Because A here is 1, I can go ahead and write x minus 6, x plus 1, without splitting the middle. And that common factor needs to come down, though, that negative 1, okay? And that's my factored form of negative x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, moving on to where A is greater than 1. Okay, number 10. First off, do I have any common factors? No, because 6 divides by 6 and 1, 3 and 2. I can't divide by 7 by 6, 3, 2, none of those. okay? And I don't have an x in all three terms, so I don't have a common factor. All right, this is where, because my a is not 1 anymore, I have to multiply a times c first. I'm going to have to go through that full process we did on the first example above, okay? So here's my a, my b, my c. I start out by multiplying a times c, 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, so I'm looking for the numbers that multiply to be 12 that add up to be 7. Factors of 12 are 12 and 1, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Okay, which one of those add up to be 7? 3 and 4. Okay, I can't skip to the end here. I have to do the split the middle process. At least that's the method we're choosing, guys. There are other ways of factoring. If you struggle with split the middle, Miss Gonzalez, Miss Campbell, or I may be able to help you out with finding a different method that works better for you. Okay, so to be right, 6x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 2. So I just split that 7x into 4x and 3x. Now I'm in a group. Okay, common between 6x squared and 4x, 2x. Divide both by 2x. 3x plus 2. Common between 3x and 2? Nothing. Just 1. Okay? We do need to put that 1 out front when we're factoring by grouping. So 3x divided by 1 is 3x. 2 divided by 1 is 2. Okay, my two groups. We have 3x plus 2 and 3x plus 2. We have 2x plus 1. Okay. All right, let's do another. Example 11. Five x squared minus 6x minus 8. Again, no common factor. So I'm going to start out by multiplying 5x times negative 8. 5 times negative 8. A times c. That is negative 40. Looking for the two factors that multiply to be negative 40, that add up to be negative 6. Negative 40 and 1. Negative 20 and 2. Negative 10 and 4. There it is. Okay. A group, 5x squared minus 10x plus 4x minus 8. So I took that negative 10 and that 4 and made them the middle coefficients. Group this. Common between 5x squared and negative 10x. You can divide them both by 5x. So let's do that. 5x squared divided by 5x, x. Negative 10 divided by 5x, minus 2. Okay. 4x minus 8. I can divide both those by 4. So I'm going to do plus 4. And I get x minus 2. Okay, notice my comment. X minus 2. And 5x plus 4. Okay, one thing I do want to point out is you may write these in a different order. You may put your 5x plus 4 first and your x minus 2 second. And that's okay. Multiplication, again, when we have factors, those are just things being multiplied. With multiplication, order doesn't matter. So you can switch the order on those factors, okay? All right, moving on to our last problem, number 12. Okay, first things first. Do we have a greatest common factor? We do. We definitely do. We can divide all of these by 100, okay? So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to divide each and every one of these factors by 100. Okay, 200x squared divided by 100, 100 goes out front, is 2x squared. Negative 300x divided by 100, negative 3x. Negative 1,400 divided by 100, negative 14. Okay, we still have this in the middle now that we need to factor. Okay, a times c, because my a is greater than 1, so I have to do the a times c process and split the middle. 2 times negative 14 is negative 28. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 28 that add up to be negative 3. Well, let's do some division to figure it out. Divide by 1, I get negative 28. 2, negative 14. Can't divide by 3. Divide by 4, and I get negative 7. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 28. I'll split the middle. Instead of negative 3x, negative 7x plus 4x. Bring down my other terms. 2x squared minus 14. Okay, I can't forget about this 100 here. Okay, I can either bring it down each step or I can bring it down later. Okay, right now my focus is on the red and my trinomial that I'm factoring. So sometimes I just forget about that greatest common factor for a little bit and then bring it down in the end. Okay, but we can't forget about it. All right, so now I'm going to group what's in my red here. Common between 2x squared and negative 7x is just x. So divide both those by x. I get 2x minus 7. Okay. Common between 4x and negative 14. Both those are even. So I can divide both those by 2. So plus 2. 4x divided by 2 is 2x. Negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. So now my two factors, my common factor here, 2x minus 7. Okay, and then I have x plus 2 is my other factor. And I cannot forget to bring down that 100. 100. Okay, and I have my final factored answer. Okay, that's it today, guys. 12 examples of factoring. Went through quite a bit. Hopefully, that clarified, give you some clear strategies for factoring quadratics. If you have further questions, please ask Gonzalez or Campbell or myself, and we'd be happy to help you further. The practice work on the back is your assignment. Please make sure you get that done.